welcome back to class today. And on my screen currently I have a landing page that has a login module at the center, and at the top I have my nav section that has the menu and a login button, and on the top left I have the logo text. This is something called glass morphism effect. Now I have a background. We're going to be learning how to do this from scratch. Okay, and I have some effects that pushes my label email up. Likewise for the password, and my checkbox forgot password on over, login button, don't have an account register. So let's get right into this class. Okay,
bring in your doctor type, press shift 1. It's going to give you this. You can change the title to login, so you can see that my tab menu has changed. If I change it to Shola, you will see that it's changing as well. So whatever you want to name this document, just call that. Mine is login sign up. The next thing I want to do is to ensure that I link my CSS which I've created, and I'm going to call that CSS name. Ensure it's properly linked. If it's not, you won't be able to style your classes when you're calling them. The next thing is that I'm going to the body and call the headers tag, and I'm going to give it a class. Okay, let's give it h2 class logo. So, and if I refresh, you see the logo text. Come back in here, and I want to call a nav. Of course, my nav will have a class, and I want to give it navigation. And inside that nav, I will drop it in. I want to have an anchor, and that anchor will be empty. That's why I'm using hash. I'm changing the name to Gertrude. Copy and just duplicate, and you can simply see the result here. Now, you don't want Gertrude all through, so I have to change the names to Wilson, to Jimmy, to Favor, Enoch, and the rest. So I'm changing that. So sorry, this is not Favor. Okay, and then let's say Tolu. Save it, and you can see that these names are changing. Okay, the next thing you want to do is to call the button and give it a class. Mine is btn pop-up, and I have the text as login, so you can see the button as login. The next thing I want to do is to go back to my file, and inside the body, after the edge section, now I will have to do a class. Now this is a short way of bringing the class. If you need a div tag, just press dot and name your class, and then it's going to give you div class. And if you can see that, you see that I want to replicate all these icons, so I have to go to ionico.icons, go to usage, installation, and just copy that script and bring it under your div, the last thing on your body. Okay, this will help us link what we want to put into our span, and you can see they have fields, outline, and sharp. So I'm going to search for close. I'll come back here. I'm going to paste it inside that span. So once I paste that code, which are the web component which I copied here, I'm pasting it. You can see the name, and if we save it, I should hopefully have this exit icon, and that's class for icon close. So I'm going to have a form, but I want a class as well inside a div, so I'm adding extra class to that form box. That's why you see login there. And the next thing I want to do is to type that h2 or h1 or h3 text login. So I'm definitely going to just type login. If I save it, you should have login. Okay, let's go back. Now let's create a form, and this form will be empty currently. Learn linking it. I'm not giving it any action, but I want to call a class name called input box rather, and then I want to span it so that I can give it also the icon for that input, and it's going to be mail. So search mail on Ionicons and ensure it's copied, paste it, and then if we save and go to our output, definitely we should have that. But I want to have the input box for that. And the type is going to be email, and I'm going to put required. If you don't put required, let's give it a label. Clear the label for and just give it a name label. Now you see that we have both the input and the icons and the label. So the email that you are seeing here is the one responsible for this, and the Ionicon is the one responsible for the icons. So let's close that and have another session. I can simply just copy and paste this, and anytime I save and go back to now this name, the Icon names, I want to change it to log closed. This log closed, I'm going to change this to password, I'm going to change the label to password, and if we refresh, you can see that we have 2. Okay, and the reason why I know that the name is lock close is that if you search for lock, you see it, and if you click on the web component, you see lock close. That's why the name is lock closed. But if you don't know, you just simply copy from Ionicons and just come and paste it there. Now we need a button that they will use to submit. Now there are different types of button. I'm going to give this button type submit. We have reset, we have button. And I'm giving it a class to BTN so that when I want to style that button, I know what to call. Now we have that. Our HTML is just to give us a structure. We can see that the requirement is working. If you don't place a requirement, it's not going to see that input box as the label we are using, the name we are using. So what if they don't have an account and they want to register? Okay, let's create a class here called login register, and I'm creating a paragraph tag. I have another class inside that paragraph tag. Okay, let me remove it. Let me just put don't have an account and save it. Most likely, since I don't have a class here now, I might be using an anchor to serve as a link to where they will. Yeah, so let's use A, and it's going to be empty for now. Let's have a class in small letters, definitely, and whatever name you want to use. I'm using register link, and of course the text that we show, which will be underlined, will be register. So you can see that I don't have an account, and that's what we've just done here. I'm going to omit the other sections for now, and then we go ahead later. We'll come back and add it to it. Let's just save this, and then we go to our CSS. And the first thing I want to do here is to import my URL style sheet for fonts. So you go to Google Font and you search a name. So let's say you search Montserrat. Montserrat is the name of a font. You will see that we have that font in different weights, in different style. You have the italics, we have 100, we have 200, different bold variation. Okay, extra light, thin, and the rest. So but I want to use poppings. Now all you do is that you keep adding all the selection that you want into your font family selection. There are different families. We have thin, we have regular, medium. So once you are done adding, go to the top section of selected family. You see all the family fonts you've added, and you see a link. But you are not using the link, you're using the import. Just copy that and come and paste it. Now remove the first style tag and the closing style tag, and now you have imported this font. Now we need to copy the CSS rule to specify this family, so you have to put that inside your body so that it goes around. Now if I refresh, you see that my text has changed and they are following poppings family, font family. And the next thing I want to do is to put the universal selector. Okay, so you put your padding to 0, your margin also to 0, and the last thing you have is your box size, which will be border box. And this CSS is just to style. Now we are going to be calling both the inner tags that CSS can pick without using dots in front of them, and the one we named ourselves. So for header, body, input, anchor, h2, you don't need to put dot h2 dot header. You just have to call them straight. So I'm positioning them. Positioning has different one: relative, fixed, absolute. So you can see that we are already styling our work. So I have a padding of 20 pixels and 100 pixels. I'm justifying the context so that it will be at the center. Let me give it the background color of blue, and let's align this item to center. Z index is how far each element that we are styling overlaps. So you can see that we have that. So if we put a width of 100%, not pixel, it's going to span across our screen. And the difference between pixel and percent is this: you don't know exact unit that you need to cover up your sense, so just go for 100%. And now the next thing we want to do is to do our h2. Our logo, let's do the logo. And let's give it a font size of 3.2 rem. Color, you can give it any color of your choice, but always be color conscious. It has to blend. So I'm using a white color for my logo. It's just a logo text. I can later change that to a picture, PNG, or whatever. but now we want to do that of navigation. You remember we called the class called navigation, and I'm adding the anchor inside that navigation. I want to position them as relative, and I'm giving them color and calling other element styles. And you can see that all my menus are blue because the background is also blue. So if I change it to white, which the X color code is just 4F, 4Fs. If I save that and come back, let's just add the font size first, 1 rem. Most times when you're using a font size, you might want to consider using font width to determine how emphatic, how bold that text will be. So that's my font width, and then our margin will be the one to split or to give a gap between these text. So I'm going to put margin right or margin left, whichever one you want to use. So I'm using 40 pixel margin left, and you can see that it has been spaced. When I get to my login button, I have to do the same thing to space that login and the last text called to loop. And I'm going to call my navigation class again, and this time I'm going to add the button login pop-up. So if you go to our HTML, you see that class btn pop-up. So there's no login there. So that means we have to change. Either we change the name here or we go back to our CSS and change it. So I'm going to remove login here and just leave it pop-up, because if I'm calling the wrong name, definitely it's not going to affect that section of my HTML. So I'm having a background color of white. The color will be that for the text. Now you can see this currently. Let me remove something. Okay, let me copy. You might come back here and copy, and you might just copy from here if you need to work on different things under that same section. So I want to put over. Now over means that once they bring your cursor on it changes the effect from what we have on navigation btn to what we have on navigation btn over now. So the background color is white, and the color is okay. I'm going back to that, and I want to style it, give it a height and width and a background. So the background is transparent. That means we don't have any colors, more like using none. So that 2px solid, and the color is white. Okay, you can see that once I hover, the color changes, and this is a mistake. 2px, that should be what is there. And let's have a border radius. Border radius is the corners of your edge. You can have border radius bottom left, bottom right to specify which angle you want. But for just all of the 4 angles, you can just use border radius. And your cursor pointer changes your cursor from your mouse cursor to hand cursor, like the one you are seeing now. And of course, you need the font size, and I'm still calling other elements like font width. So just follow through this tutorial. You should be able to learn 1 or 2 things and be able to replicate the same results. So you can see that now the color of, okay, let's add a transition. Transition means that instead of bringing the cursor on the button and immediately the over changes, it takes a little bit time before it changes. And you can see that I want to change the color of the text, which I will later do, so that once they over on it, the color changes to white, to black. But currently the color is black before hovering. So I'm going to copy this navigation, and I'm going to call my anchor after ensure that the spaces between all these elements are not too much, especially when you're calling after effect, over, all of these things. So the content now is currently empty. I'm going to position it as relative. Okay, let's change it to absolute, and let's have left 0, width also 100%. Let's have a height, I don't know, 2px should be okay, and let's save it. And currently you can see our result. I'm trying to put a line under our menu, the list of menu, yes, so that we can then animate it, and so that it can come from left or right or from both ends, depending on whichever one we want. So of course that line we have a border radius too, and the transform will have to be x0, so so that when we are doing the next one, it will be x1. Transition is almost always 0.5 seconds or transparent. So here I'm putting transform dots 5 seconds. I'm still going to remove that transform. I'm just trying something out, so remove it. It's not working for what I want. So let's go ahead. So after the over, and there should be an after effect, so I want to transform that. I want to scale it down. It's going to be 1, and the origin will be left. Now you can determine origin to be right here, you can determine it to be left there, and all that. So depending on whichever one you want. The transform origin from the first one is right, so after that is left. Okay, so our body now, styling the body, I want a background picture. I have that background picture in one of my folders, which is AW. You can download any picture, but ensure you are calling the right name. I want to put it on no repeat. If there is no repeat and the picture size is lesser than what can cover my screen, it's going to repeat it to cover my screen. And also you can see that I'm putting background size cover, so it's covering everything. And the background position is also centered. Font family, of course, we've done that before. So the next thing I want to do is to ensure that I align that item to center and give it a mini height of 100 VH. There are different units of measurement, and you can see that the text that we want below has been dropped down. So I have to align this body to justify content, and this is supposed to be space between for our header. So justify content, I'm going to put a space between so that it can push it and everything is well positioned. Not enough. Okay, I might just want to remove the color too. So we are going to do the wrapper now. The wrapper is the one I talked about that we're going to style like to have a glass morphism effect, which is to have a backdrop and give it a blur of whatever percentage you want. Currently, we are still styling the position, the width, the height, not web, just the width. Okay, let's say 400 pixel. Most times you have background, you have color, you have justify content, align content. If you're doing for text, you can just do text align. If you are doing for all, it's always good. Now this RGB means it means of measuring color. We have different units of measuring colors too. We have X color code, we have RGBA, we have RGB, which is 3, but all of them are still representing the same color: the saturation, the luminosity, the transparency, the hue. So I have a border radius here too. So be mindful of all these things I'm calling. Now you can see the line. Border radius is the one giving 25% border radius. The corners, the 4 corners. I want the box shadow. I want the box backdrop. Let's give the backdrop filter. This is the element responsible for that kind of blurry transition and what's it called again? Glass morphism effect. So let's give it a box shadow. Right, left, top, top, left. So this is going to be RGB and 000 and what percentage of transparency. The last one is always transparency. You can see that shade of black background, the box shadow, and the display should be flex. Justify content, of course, you have to put it on center if you want it on center. Anyway, I want mine on center. So all of the content inside it has been put to center. Also, the wrapper is supposed to be centered. Okay, body to be center so that this can come to the center. Now, if I have other things in my body, everything is going to be centered. Anything I'm doing now is going to be centered on the body, except I don't have any other thing. So I'm going to do the icon close now. Now all of the icons we call from are icons. we have to, they have a name, they have a class, we have to position them, give them color, give them font size, font weight. If they are overlapping, we can tell them to hide. That's if they overflow. Can tell them to be collapsed inside whatever we're doing. And so position, background, color, font size, 1 rem, 2 rem, justify content, position center. Now we are taking this. We're going to take this icon up. Okay, this icon close. You're taking it up. So I have to add left top. So you can see that it's at the center now without column. So the next thing I want to do is to put it on right, and it's going to be 0. Let's put top 0. And if I save it now, you see that it's there. Now what's making that to overflow? Let me comment this out. You can see it's overlapping. And so if you add overflow to your wrapper and hide anything that is overlapping, it's going to hide it inside that wrapper. So it can be wrapper, it can be a container. It depends on what you are styling it with, the name you are calling the class rather. So I want the bottom. Now this is what I was referring to the other time, the border bottom left radius, a particular part of your shape that you want to give a radius, so that it's coarse and it's neat. And this cursor pointer is also what I explained the other time, and the Z index. So the cursor pointer ensure that your cursor, your mouse cursor, changes to a hand cursor. Okay, we have a class called form box, so I'm going to call that class definitely dot wrapper. I want dot wrapper dot form box. My pasting here is just giving me issue. Okay, let me just put it here. Then space, backspace. Okay, good. I think okay, good. We can go on now. So let's give it a weight. Of course, let's pad it. Remember the H2 we used as the login label text on top. So we want to position it and we want to give it 100%. Of course, we put it at the center as well, so that it will be a neat one. Um, 30 pixels, okay, or 35, it's okay. Counter color, white, not white, okay. Okay, currently the input box and the input focus for the label is the one we're going to be using to push our label up. Also, we're going to be having a transition effect that pushes that label up. Okay, so let's specify the height here. So where the user is going to type in their email and their password is what we're working on currently, the input box. You remember we had a class called input box. Okay, so you can remember that now I'm putting a background transparent. That's why you won't be able to see that. But if you click on it, it's still there. Okay, and then the email label jumping up is we need a transition effect so that it's a little bit slow. So I have to go back to input that so that when you click on it, it goes a little bit slower up. Now we need to take this cursor, the icons. We need to take those icons to the right. Okay, so we are gonna call them now. Now remember we have a class called like icon. So for the input box icon, we're gonna position them. We're gonna put them on right for px and their font size, their font weight. If we want that, now there is also other units of measurement like 2 rem. We have rem, we have we have pixel, we have inches, we have percent, and the rest. So you can see I've pushed them to the right now. I want a line that will show that actually you there's an input feed here that you can type in. So I'm taking that out so that I'm bringing my background that is transparent. I'm taking it also that we can see that white box. And then I want to go back, and if I come back here, I want to go to my input box. Now I think I've made a mistake here. Solid. So that solid line that I did the other time. So I can put this back on transparent. Aha. It's making sense now. At least you know you have to type something there. Okay, and this is what you have to do. Now I want to go to my header section and just comment that out so that I have like everything just transparent and yeah, the BTM pop up. Now you can see that it's logged. So you have to go back. Um, okay, good down. Let's do this area, the area of the password, the login. Don't have an account. Let's tie them to. Okay, I think I forgot something. Okay, now let's copy this and paste. Let's change this input to our remember. We didn't have that. I remember I said I'm going to put something here later, and that's for the checkbox. So remove that your span. Just have a label. Remove your label for and put in remember me or for remember input. Okay, let's have an input, and this text will be checkbox, so that we can have a box there. Now we don't need that input here. So I'm removing the input and I'm removing the label. I just need like an anchor or something, like a paragraph or an anchor that I can use to. Okay, I think that's working. Okay, forgot password. Let's do forgot password. So you can see that what we have to style them to give them spacing. So let's call it class now. They remember forgot password. I believe you know how to do this. Font size is dot 8 am. 8 m, not am. 8 em. That's m. Then color, font weight, display, flex, justify content. You have to space them. So once we space them, you see that they are going to give themselves spacing. Now this checkbox and the remember me is a little bit too close to. We need to give it a margin 0. Then let me add 15 to save, so that okay, it's not working yet. Is it saved? We also have to change the color of that checkbox, the accent color. So we have to change it to remember forgot label input. So I'm changing that color to the color I've been using. 082155. Okay, when I click it, carries that same color. I still need to space that checkbox and okay. Margin right. Let us space it a little bit, like 5 pixel, 4 pixels, so that they remember me and the box will be a little bit spaced. Now, when they hover on the anchor, what should happen? Text decoration should be none or underlined, whichever one you want. If it's underlined previously, you can then tell them you don't want it underlined. Now, currently it's underlined, still underlined, so I don't want it underlined. Let's change this to none, so that okay, good. Good. Okay, I'm just going to copy this and then do the over now. So that's what I will do. Now that we have it not underlined and the color, just copy the same thing, but this time around change the text decoration to underline, so that when they now over, it underlines. And if you want to change the color to any other thing that you think you want it to be obvious, you can always change the color, but that's not looking good. I'm going to go back, revert back to my previous color. So let's do the button, the login button, which is the submit. That's the btn. So let's call btn. Of course, we have a width, height, border radius. What else do we need to put? Color. Your border radius. None. Border radius. Outline. None too. I don't need any outline for this. White. That should be okay. Good. So I need a border radius. Font size. Font weight 600. Border radius 6 pixel. So I think it's cool this way. It's cool. I like it. So the last thing is to push this text a little bit down, put them at the center, and you have to call the class. Go back to check the name of the class. It's called login register, in case you don't have it. So you can copy it, Control C, or just right click and copy, paste it. And let's just style it to now. The unit of measuring M is lower than rem. Okay. Let's give it a margin so that we can push it down a little. Now so that has been pushed down. The next thing I want to work on should be the blue, this color register. I don't like that color, so we have to change it to our color. So paragraph and A. So the login registered paragraph and A. Text decoration none. Font weight. So that means when they over on it, something should happen. It looks like every other thing. So copy that and paste. I don't have my closing key. I have to put that and then put your over. Ensure your backspace. That's let's put on the line. Save. If you want a slight difference between the previous font weight and this second font weight, just change it. If you don't want it, leave it the same. Font size 1 rem. You can see that the text is changing, but it's pushing my center text. So I might just leave it at 500. Let's see what's going on. It's still the same. Uh, let me remove the font size. Okay, I think it's okay this way. If you have any questions, please kindly use the comment section. I will be available to attend to your questions. Thank you.